I guess we could I'll hop right in. The way I wanted it to be was a little bit more natural, so we don't have to be overly formal, but I'll just kind of take us through what whole person care is, some chaplaincy myths, and then we'll go over how you ended up doing pet therapy as well.
Okay.
And kind of combining those. Hey guys, welcome to Living Well, the Oasis podcast. My name's Tasso, and today I am joined with Reverend Carlene Appel. She is an incredible woman, somebody who serves here at Oasis as a pet therapist and a chaplain, which seems like a unique combination, and she's definitely a unique individual. So I wanted to speak with her about her thoughts on end-of-life care, the holistic side of health, and what she brings to the table as somebody who wants to advocate for more alternative therapies, if you will, but also for folks to simply recognize what it means to have access to spiritual, emotional, and psychosocial care. So without further ado, here is Reverend Carlene Appel.
Yeah. I don't think.
Well,
I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. And I think that's probably part of why you are with us here at Oasis Hospice as both a chaplain and as a therapist, a pet therapist specifically. And so we wanted to just give a little bit about your background just to start off in terms of how you got into this work and what brought you to Oasis specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Reverend Carlene Appel. I go by Rev, and I have done work with Oasis since, I believe, last September. I think it was last September. So it's been a few months. It's been good. I enjoy the faith base.
Yeah.
It's nice to go into a meeting and praise the Lord.
Absolutely.
I have done hospice 19 years.
Okay.
And this is the only place that you can do that.
Wow. That is awesome to know that we're unique in that way. I didn't realize that. I know that Shade and Hakeem are very intentional about the faith-based aspect of things. Yeah. And maybe we could use that as a tangent. So as you guys know, this is Rev, as you now know, and she is here with us at Oasis as a pet therapist and as a chaplain. And so she holds a very unique position as somebody who brings a part of that care, holistic care package to the patients that we service. And so I wanted to open up by asking you a little bit about maybe your philosophy on whole person care as a hospice facility. Obviously, we're trying to treat people both from the clinical side, but also from an emotional and spiritual and mental side. And so maybe you could speak to how that interlocks and intersperses with what you do here.
Yeah, well, it was years ago they did a study, scientific study, funded everything that on prayer, which is kind of wild, you know. You had to spend a lot of money to find out prayer works, and they found out prayer was effective. Yeah. So it was a published study. Yeah. Anyway, but what I see is hospice being the holistic care. You know, and it is shown if a person's not only the physical, but the emotional, spiritual, the whole person is taken care of, they're more compliant, they feel better. So, you know, so you're taking care of the whole person, we're taking care of their family. I always tell people hospice helps have people have a good last chapter or a better last chapter. There's a lot of people still who don't have hospice, which is sad, you know, and we tell people get on hospice as early as possible because you get this benefit of a whole team. You get your medical director and a nurse, case manager, you get a chaplain, a social worker, and Oasis has a pet therapist, which is really cool because right now CMS, which is Center for Medicare Medicaid Services, which reimburses, does not reimburse for pet therapy. So you know, another hospice I do work for, I bring Gracie with me, but it's not something they offer everyone. Oasis is different. Oasis has decided to take that step and kind of bite the bullet, you know, for the cost and incorporate that, and it's been very successful.
That's powerful.
You know, there's some people I see just for pet therapy. Some people I have a dual role of chaplain and pet therapist, but I think my main role here is pet therapy, And Oasis, as I look at their history, they have a history of trying things on faith. Yeah. And so I think pet therapy is part of that.
Yeah.
My little gift from God here.
And if you do get a chance to meet Gracie, sorry to interrupt, but anybody who sees her knows immediately. She's just such a sweetheart. And she got these two beautiful eyes, one blue, one amber. And it's just like she has this calm disposition, but she's so overly joyous to see anybody who's willing to give her some pets. And I think that spirit of calmness can also bring that to a patient maybe who's suffering or who's going through something at end of life. So you spoke a little bit about the whole team, right? The whole interdisciplinary care aspect. And so I wanted to ask you, maybe from your perspective, and you can speak maybe more to the pet therapy than to the chaplaincy, or you can choose which one you want to speak to. But in terms of how people respond, I know a lot of times, we think of a chaplain and we put that with end of life care, and we have these misconceptions and myths that may propagate about things being overly religious, or this person is going to pronounce death or something along those lines that is just not true. And so maybe you could speak to some of those myths. How do you approach that misconception when you read that?
Well, one of the things I do is I tell them chaplaincy is about spirituality. Spirituality is what gives meaning to life to you, what makes you want to get up and again do it the next day. In that regard, and I tell people, for many people that includes a religious element, but there's also people who spirituality is not religious at all. It's nature, music, poetry,
you actually
art.
gave an incredible example at our last IDG.
Last IDG, the last IDG I told about one of my patients, this is quite some time ago, what was spiritual for him was restoring muscle cars to their former glory.
Yeah.
So I always give that as the extreme example to show people the broad spectrum of what spirituality is, because what I found in my 19 years of hospice is that marketing usually doesn't explain chaplaincy well. The admitting nurse doesn't explain chaplaincy well. And, not faulting him or her, but it's just they haven't gotten a proper understanding. And I think it's essential for them to know, because when people hear chaplain, they think religious. And it has to be emphasized that, no, not everybody's religious. I've taken care of atheists. Okay.
So how does that look? What would that be like if you're, just to go off of that tangent, maybe your chaplaincy when you're engaged with an atheist or an agnostic? How do you provide support in that context?
Well, when I go in, I don't go in with any preconceived notions. I let the conversation flow like we're doing now. And I find out what's important to them. One of the atheists that I took care of, she didn't want to see me until she was actively dying, and she just wanted me to come and sit beside her. I think she had written a couple books or offered to read them to her. She just wanted me to hold her hand.
Wow. And
so I sat at the bedside and held her hand. A lot of chaplaincy is about presence. Presence is highly underrated. People are talked at all the time. And when people are talking, they're trying to soothe themselves. And let me give an example. I went into the hospital. I went into a hospital in Berwyn. This was many years ago, too. And there was a woman in there, a new hospice patient, and her daughter was there. And the hospital chaplain was there theologizing and everything. And I looked at the daughter. It was like, well, if looks could kill. Okay. And so I hurried him out as quickly as I could. And I just stood on the other side of the bed, quiet, for a long time. And then finally something was said, and a conversation opened up, and she showed me pictures of her mom. Of course, her mom was there, and so I was providing care for her mom. A lot of presence.
That's
you have
so
to
big.
learn to be with people. You have to actively listen. You have to know what you bring into a room, because you're going to be affected by something.
That's such a, and I appreciate you bringing that into the conversation, because I think sometimes, especially in the healthcare field, we study for so long, or we go to medical school or nursing school, and we do all these things, and it becomes a thing of checking boxes. It becomes a thing of information, and sometimes it pays to get back to the basics of why we got into care work in the first place. And a lot of that does have to do with just presence. There's an element of just the love that we hope to share in the world that is really reduced to just being there with somebody.
Being with people and their suffering. Being with people in their transition from life to death.
Yeah.
You know, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't realize that the length of time you're on hospice, length of stay or LOS varies. You know, that 6 months was just an arbitrary figure.
Yeah.
So I like to tell people that, you know, it's not like 6 months, okay, expiration date. It's not that. Some people are on for a few days. Some people are on for 2-3 years, and they're on and off, on and off. Those are our patients living with dementia. People living with dementia, they'll stabilize and decline and stabilize and decline. So it's kind of like a stair step. It is the long goodbye. I am a dementia care specialist. I've worked with people living with dementia since 1985.
Wow. And
I love them. I have so much fun with them.
I think that's so powerful as well, just because that 6 month number, and for those who don't know, that's the kind of the number the government says if you are kind of diagnosed with that amount of time, if a natural progression of a disease were to occur, then you can qualify for hospice. But what Rev is saying is that that's not always the case. You have cases of folks who are on hospice for years. Some of them even graduate from hospice to where they are no longer eligible. But obviously, those are some of the great cases. What we want to do is simply be present for them in all of those stages. And it's really beautiful to see how you're able to bring your own spin. For those who don't know, she is incredible. I mean, we know her here at Oasis, and she has her own flavor to her. She's got a purple streak in her hair. She's got a blue blazer on. She's got like a pink shirt underneath. So you know she's about that business, and she just has an awesome aura and spirit to her. And so bringing that to Oasis is something that I think adds definitely a dimension to our interdisciplinary team. So as we kind of get into the ending part of our conversation, I wanted to talk to you just about what you have to offer, what you have to say in general. Like, are there any things that you want people to know about, you know, pet therapy, chaplaincy, anything really?
Well, one of the things is, and you know, in all my 19 years, I wish that the government would change this, but people are overwhelmed when hospice starts. Yeah. Because the government says, or CMS, so that Center for Medicare Medicaid Services says, in the first 5 days, everybody has to come, all your equipment comes and everything, and it's too much for people. And so sometimes when I call, I say, are you all people out? You know, and then if they want me to come a different day, I'll come a different day. You know, imagine that. All of a sudden you have this onslaught of people. Yeah. You know, and so...
that's interesting to think about, too, because we did just mention the vast interdisciplinary care team, and that is an asset, but at the same time it can also feel like a bit of a I don't know, like a waterfall. Like
it's an intrusion.
Yeah, like there's so much going on.
And sometimes people just refuse services because they're just too overwhelmed, but you have to explain to them, take heart. After the first week, everybody starts out. Yeah, it's good. But, you know, our purpose is to lighten the load on the caregivers. I always say, what do you do for self-care? And, you know, and I make it real simple. I said, take a walk around the block, put your feet up, have a cup of coffee or tea. You have to do self-care. And those 5-minute vacations mean a lot more than, you know, taking a week somewhere. But you grab those spaces where you can. It's just for you. Otherwise, you're going to break down. You know, we use the illustration from the airplane. The cabin pressure drops, the oxygen mask will fall. If you have a child with you, put the mask on them first. Well, why would I do that? Because you're going to be passed out, and the child's going to be putting the mask on you. So, and it's also, when I teach on compassion fatigue, I say, you know, it's like writing checks on an account, a bank account where you haven't made any deposits. You have to make resiliency deposits in that bank, however small. Otherwise, it's like writing checks on an account. There's no more money, so it's overdrawn, or a well where your spring is run dry. You know, and those things. People, I like to use illustrations. Being a preacher, I like to use a lot of illustrations, but. I would like to finish talking about pet therapy.
Absolutely.
Because,
Please.
You know, dogs were the first animals to be domesticated between 30 and 40,000 years ago, and so they can read and interpret our emotions.
Pet's best friend.
Yeah, and so through behavior, posture, and it's rarely seen in any other domesticated companion animals. And so there was a study in Advanced Science. They said brainwaves of dogs and humans are aligned when they engage in friendly interaction. So it's known as interbrain coupling or neural synchrony. So what that interbrain coupling does is it releases oxytocin and dopamine. Oxytocin, that's where you get your mother-baby bonding. So trust, altruism. And so you get the fostering of affection and reduces stress, long-term bonding. And then the dopamines, that's a feel-good hormone.
Yeah.
We see teens have an overload of it, but reward and pleasure. So it reinforces that. So petting and stroking a dog can lower blood pressure. So it decreases cortisol, which is our stress hormone.
Yeah.
And so they reduce depression, anxiety, unconditional love of a dog. If you spell dog backwards, it's God. And God gives us unconditional love.
Yeah.
And what a great reflection, because a dog loves you unconditionally. They don't care if you've had a bad day or anything. They're just happy to see you. Yeah. You know, they throw you a party. So.
I love that. Yeah, and I think there's some truth to that idea that, I don't know, that coupling is interesting to me, because really at the end of the day, it's like you have we yearn for companionship, we yearn for community, we're built for community. And when there is, you know, the ability for even in an animal to give and receive that love, it's something that is able to multiply our capacity just to even sense that. Sometimes it's not always, you don't always have people immediately available, and sometimes that reliability of, as you said, man's best friend can be.
Well, and Gracie is a certified pet therapy dog. That's different. I always have to say that, because you have people who have these emotional support animals, which send in your $35.
That is important to say,
and you get a certificate for your lizard or whatever.
This is a CHAP-accredited institution that is hired a pet therapist that is accredited, that is fully This is a not the same thing as just a simple pet, but at the same time, we do have that universal bond with these animals, and being able to bring that into the field that is usually reserved for these high clinical types, and just allowing folks to just be stabilized in a different way, their cortisol levels and their dopamine levels, and just being able to find peace by just being at peace is a beautiful thing.
And so so they have to be a year old, and they have to pass Canine Good Citizen, which is through the American Kennel Club. So they train, they test in 10 areas, and then they go on and do more classes for therapy dog, and they have to take a 10-area test and pass that. And she's certified through Helping and Healing Paws in Minnesota, and so but so that's why I always make that distinction. Gracie is also a search and recovery dog too. So
multi-talented.
Yeah, she is.
Wow.
She is, so.
Any last words, Gracie? You want to tell us anything today, or are you just chilling?
She's not talking.
Yeah, she's chilling today. Last question I had for you, and then if you had anything else to share, please do. Yeah. But in terms of that thing, you mentioned at the beginning that, is it CMS, the Center for Medicaid?
Medicare and Medicaid Services.
That they don't reimburse for pet therapy.
No, they don't.
So, I mean, the fact that Oasis has kind of, as you said, bit the bullet and kind of made that commitment to whole person, holistic care, what does that mean to you, and how do you, interpret that?
to me, that is a picture of an organization that really cares about the whole person. And I think the faith plays into that. God cares for us as His creation. What Psalm 139 says, you have searched me and known me. You know when I rise up and when I sit down, and you knew me when I was being formed in my mother's womb. I praise you. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and so there's nowhere I can go that you can't get to, God, and so to me that commitment, that bite the bullet if you want to call it, and
really, I want to say, let's not use bite the bullet.
I know.
That's like it feels more like we should.
Where that came.
It's more plant the seed. We're planting the seed because it's an investment in the future.
Planting the seed, and I think leading the way, because some things you have to be willing to put some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And so they're putting some skin in the game because they recognize that pet therapy is very valuable. And I send pictures when people will let me take pictures of them with their loved one. There's one everybody loves. Gracie happened to be putting her front paws on the piano, and she looks so natural. She's sitting with one of our patients in there, and she's got her hands on the piano. So
a little Beethoven.
Yeah. So that commitment means a lot.
Love that. Yeah.
And to me that's very special. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to help her share her skills. Oasis is a great company. I'm happy to be associated with Oasis because of their commitment to that, their faith, grace, good work environment too.
Well, Reverend, thank you so much for your time today. Sorry, Rev, and I appreciate you taking the time to coming through and just sharing a little bit more as we try and educate people, not just about hospice, but about all of the little interdisciplinary parts of what makes this work. And I think it's going to open a few eyes today about what the potential is in pet therapy and just in general chaplaincy, holistic care, and psychosocial care in general. But once again, thank you for your time and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Okay, Tosu, God bless.
Thank you guys for joining me today on Living Well, the Oasis podcast. If you didn't notice, I've been experimenting a little bit with AI podcast and micro interviews just to see what sticks. So if you have any format or conversation style or interview guests that you would like to see on Living Well, feel free to reach out. My email is tasso@oasishospice.us. That is TOSO@oasishospice.us. And for anyone who needs questions answered regarding end-of-life care for themselves or a loved one, please call us today. Our team is standing by to help you with whatever your situation is. We service all of Cook, Will, and DuPage counties, and we would love to help you get a bit of clarity about what hospice care can mean for you. You can call us at 773-941-4838. Once again, this has been Living Well, the Oasis podcast, and I've been your host, Tasso. We'll finish this 3-part psychosocial health series next week in a conversation with Miranda Denler. She is our bereavement coordinator and a chaplain as well with us at Oasis Hospice, and her perspective is incredible. So please stay tuned for that. Subscribe, like, whatever you got to do to stay alert, and we'll see you next time. God bless. Live well.